Effective BDS campaigns have compelled conglomerates like Veolia, Orange, CRH, and others to end their involvement in Israeli operations that violate Palestinian rights. Veolia lost more than $20 billion worth of contracts over a 7-year BDS campaign. The world's largest security firm, G4S, suffered what the Financial Times described as reputational damage due to BDS campaigning. And many companies were subjected to very real pressures by grassroots campaigning. Sovereign funds in Norway, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, and recently New Zealand have divested from Israeli or international companies and banks that are involved in Israel's violations of human rights. Mainstream churches in South Africa have endorsed BDS, while major churches in the United States, like the Presbyterian Church, United Methodist Church, United Church of Christ, among others, have divested from US companies or Israeli banks for their involvement in Israel's violations. The city of Dublin in 2018 in Ireland became the first European capital to adopt BDS, while tens of other cities and hundreds of cultural institutions and public spaces across Europe have declared themselves Israeli apartheid-free zones. BDS has broadened its base of support by winning the endorsement of major international trade union federations in South Africa, Latin America, India, Europe, Canada, and the US. On tens of campuses across the US, Canada, the UK, and elsewhere, broad, progressive, intersectional coalitions led by Students for Justice in Palestine and similar solidarity groups have succeeded in passing resolutions supporting BDS measures with overwhelming majorities. Intersectionality, a concept that was developed by Black feminists in the US, is fast becoming an indispensable component of effective justice struggles by oppressed communities worldwide. Based on its inclusive and progressive principles, BDS has established and nourished bonds of mutual solidarity with movements defending the rights of refugees, immigrants, Blacks, women, workers, indigenous nations, LGBTQI communities, ethnic and religious minorities, and so on. A growing number of anti-colonial Jewish Israeli BDS supporters play a significant role in exposing Israel's regime of oppression and advocating for its boycott. The Palestinian BDS National Committee, PNC, the largest coalition among Palestinians, the leader of the BDS movement, was among the first movements to unwaveringly stand in solidarity with the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe in its struggle against the Dakota Access Pipeline project. And in May 2020, the PNC issued a statement in solidarity with the Black-led uprisings for justice following the murder of George Floyd in police custody. It endorsed BLM's fight against white supremacy and its demands for reparations and for ending racial and economic injustice. In response to the impressive growth of support for Palestinian rights and BDS in recent years, Israel has since 2014 waged a global war on the movement, including extensive propaganda, legal warfare, and espionage. In 2016, the Israeli Ministry of Strategic Affairs, they have a full anti-BDS ministry in the Israeli government, established a tarnishing unit, that's the official name, a tarnishing unit, to smear Palestinian, Israeli, and international human rights defenders in the BDS movement. An Israeli minister has publicly threatened BDS activists, mentioning my name incidentally. He threatened us with targeted civil assassination. That's his term, targeted civil assassination, drawing condemnation from Amnesty International and other human rights organizations. In a recent major blow to Israel's lawfare or legal warfare efforts in Europe, the European Court of Human Rights ruled unanimously last year that the highest French court's 2015 criminal conviction of BDS activists advocating nonviolent boycotts of Israeli goods violated Article 10 of the European Convention on Human Rights. BDS is a matter of freedom of expression, the court ruled. So what did Israel do in response? The new anti-Semitism, quote unquote, a weaponized definition of anti-Semitism. In light of the lawfare strategy's dismal failure to criminalize or quash BDS, Israel and its lobby groups have aggressively promoted a revisionist definition of anti-Semitism that aims to shield Israel from being held accountable to universal standards of human rights and international law, as 40 Jewish organizations have said. But claiming that boycotting Israel is intrinsically anti-Semitic is really problematic. It's not just baseless propaganda. It absurdly equates Israel with all Jews. This is as bigoted as claiming that boycotting a self-defined Islamic state like Saudi Arabia, say, over its legalized discrimination against women or its war crimes in Yemen is tantamount to being Islamophobic. Nonsense. Since there is nothing Jewish about Israel's regime of occupation, siege, ethnic cleansing, and apartheid, there's nothing inherently anti-Jewish then about a nonviolent, morally consistent, anti-racist human rights movement working to end this oppression. As Archbishop Desmond Tutu of South Africa famously said, if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. For a citizen of a more or less democratic society like yours, which is deeply complicit in Israeli war crimes, as well as in Saudi, Emirati massacres in Yemen, in death squads in Latin America, war crimes in Afghanistan, and so on, neutrality means accepting this complicity, siding with the oppressor. To end, oppressors are more united than ever, and oppressions have never been more intersectional. It is high time to explore the mutuality of contemporary globalized resistances. Divided, we fail. United, we prevail, or at least maximize our chances of success.